reasons why PhD graduate delay for GTI program. Today I would like to share with you why some PhD graduate deny GTI while their friends might already got it, and what's the reason behind that, and perhaps whether you can actually resubmit your EOI or not. Now, first reason for you deny is because of time. At the time you submit your EOI, the law did not change. However, after you submit EOI and before you got invitation, the law changed. The law changed that a PhD graduate who's within 3 years graduation, 6 months of graduation, or who's actually graduating last 3 years, they cannot meet high income threshold. Okay, the time, and this is changed in February this year, about time. So if someone, let's say someone was graduated in November and they got certificate and lodged in November, and then they got invitation, it still applied to them. Or someone else, for instance, they lodged in November and at the time they graduate, they did not graduate, but then they got invitation in December. By the time they got invitation, they still hasn't received that graduation certificate. Oh, that's still okay because the law at the time did not change. Or someone in these circumstances, it's when they lodge at the same time with their friends, their friends' EOI being processed. Okay, their friends being processed, but their own EOI did not being processed, and then wait until the date of February, right? Until the law changed. And then they wonder what's going on. That's no problem with your EOI, perhaps it's because the time of lodgement. Now you wonder at the same time I lodge and they lodge, and what on earth they got invitation? I haven't been processed, right? Or I have been denied it. This is just because it can be random. I have to assure you this can be random. Just because they process at that time. That's the only reason. Their EOI being processed and your EOI was not processed, and then past the benchmark of February at the time of law change. So the law change really stipulates that if you cannot, as a graduate, being a PhD doesn't mean you are global intelligence. Well, you are for sure, but it does no longer meet the high income threshold, right? Now, previously, what does it mean, high income threshold? So this is time I talk about. The time you lodge and it was not right timing. And sometimes it's not your fault, right? I have to admit, lots of PhD approach here, they got delayed for GTI, it was not their fault. Because perhaps they submit at the same time, right? They submit same at their friends, or just because the system, just the immigration system, and somehow their EOI was not processed. So if you lodge EOI and you haven't got feedback now, you should continue. And then if circumstances change, you should provide further information. Do not wait. Do not wait. You should provide further information if you have them. Further information might including you have new publication, you have a job offer, you have something else. But because you no longer, it doesn't matter. So if you lodge the EOI last year and at that time you did not get certificate, and you wait there and hoping someone's gonna get invited, no, they're gonna reject you. Why? Because if you submit anything before February and you haven't got invited, the new law will apply to you. The new law, it will apply to you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you actually lodged before February. As long as your EOI has not decided yet, as long as your EOI has not decided yet, the new law applies to you. And then also, therefore, you're gonna need to check, am I actually meeting the new requirement now? Don't assume my friends got it, my classmate got it, or someone is actually weaker than me. I'm a proper scientist and how on earth I didn't get it. Just because of the time. They got it, that's it. Off you go, you got it, run away. So if you haven't got it now, but you lodged before February, the new law applies to you. Obviously, if you apply after that, that applies to you as well. Okay, so there's no grandfather rule saying, oh, if you apply before February, old law applies to you, and if you apply after February, the new law applies to you. No. At the time, if you have not received an invitation now, the new law applies to you regardless when you lodge it. Regardless when you lodge it. Okay, so check your time. Go to your own checking email correspondence. They don't communicate with you. They do not communicate. They don't say, hey, you know, can you give me more information? Sometimes they just reject you. So you're going to check the time when they send you the automatic response and check when actually you lodged it. Time is critical. Another one, it's high income threshold. That's very hard to meet. A lot of people just struggle to understand. Okay, they struggle to understand. And I have, in fact, talked quite a lot of information in this area about high income, and that's misconception towards these criteria. One misconception is, as long as I meet high income threshold, which means I earn high income now, I'm going to get GTI invitation. No, that's not the case. All right, obviously it's not the case because requirement here is international recognized outstanding achievement. So you need to meet whole requirement, everything. So high income has two misconceptions. One, it's as long as meet the requirement, high income, or I earn high income now, I meet requirement. No. Another misconception is that, well, if I don't meet high income, I mean, I don't earn high income now, which is impossible for PhD graduate. No, it is not impossible, but nearly impossible. If I don't earn high income now, I'm not eligible. That's wrong too. That's completely wrong. Because for all our successful cases for PhD graduate, none of them earn high income. That is the reason I said impossible or nearly impossible, right? It is just not happening in the market. It's not unless you're US, but you in US it doesn't happen like that. So we understand market. Therefore, you understand it. Why is that? Because you don't understand the wording behind it. The purpose of the GTI is a future industry. Okay, the impact you're gonna have into industry, right? So that it's not naturally, but you will actually need to meet the requirement that you have potential to reach high income in the future. Right? So that's different. Difference between this high income, that some people, they just say, oh, none of my friends got high income, so they don't earn high income, so, and they got invitation, so I'm okay, I should wait. Yes, and again, so another problem as February thing, if you lodge that and got invitation, it doesn't matter anything about law. It doesn't matter to you, it doesn't matter anything. You got it, okay, bye. But you haven't got it now. It doesn't matter about what friends got it. It is about you. That current requirement, do you match with this current requirement? And for the current requirement, yes, you do. You do need to meet high income. So as a PhD graduate, you're going to think about how you're going to say something about this. Why Australian government wants you to evidence this, right? And some people just say it's impossible for me to get a offer in Australia. No, impossible. How come? If you're impossible to get Australia offer, university offer, you may have been a lecturer. Is that possible in your home country, right? Is that possible to some countries they like your skill set now? Is that possible they have a less hierarchy in Australia universities? Or is that possible you can go to the industry? Or is that possible you can start your own business? Is that possible? Don't tell me it's impossible, because someone did it. All of our PhD graduates got permanent visa. They did somehow meet this requirement. And we figured out how. Okay, so don't tell me it's impossible. You gotta figure out. That is something you must meet in order to get invitation now. For the current student, as long as your invitation hasn't received it, regardless when you lodge it, you still need to meet high income threshold now. You're gonna figure out how. Okay, another problem why PhD graduates can get denied in their own research. Okay, in their own. And let me tell you, I think we'll be very frank with everybody. Now, having a PhD graduate is no longer something like it's very rare nowadays. It's actually not that rare. Although lots of local people don't want to do that, but doesn't mean it's really hard to make you become scientists. It is not. So you know your potential. It is not your publication unless you make breakthrough. And none of them, I believe, and nowadays it's very hard, you know. All the research areas, someone has done it, right? All the research area, someone has done it. So your focus is completely wrong when you submit EOR. You try to really make up the publications, long list of publications, and then even your third author, fourth author, you just put on numbers, hoping, oh, my friend hasn't got anything and I've got it. Does it matter? It does, of course, right? It does. It depends on the magazine. You know that impact factor, how much value. But lots of people, we have got lots of graduates who's got PhD, whose PhD got permanent visa. Lots of them never submit, or their thesis never been published, which is common, right? Which is common. So that why they got it? Now we need to focus why this is GTI program anyway. Why? Let me say this. If someone you believe you have a brilliant academic background and you are really good in research, the assumption is, if you want to focus that, assumption is you should have a permanent role at a university. No, of course you say it's two different stuff. All right, don't confuse. No, but we use common sense to understand that. If you want to focus on academic, and you feel, oh, that's a lot of competitors, okay? Because your research area, it is not breaking through theory unless you study physics, right? It's not breakthrough. So therefore your focus, never think about my focus. Obviously you're going to list out your qualification and this, that, but focus is not about your academic background, because everybody has it. The same graduate, they have the same thing, and perhaps they have less than you. So therefore your focus should be focused on that. Your focus should be focused before you started PhD. Have you done anything that makes yourself outstanding? Okay, so therefore, you know, your focus will be more than that. It will be focused on but before your PhD, right, and after. Okay, so lots of people PhD graduate focus a lot on my research area is bam. But when we ask, have your thesis been published? No. So who said you did really good? Apart from your supervisor, your boss, who said so? So no. So nobody knows your work. How on earth you are claiming that you are top side? It just really doesn't make sense, isn't it? I'm sure that you've done some works here, which is awesome, and I'm sure that's awesome. The focus here, therefore, I'm trying to really explain to you that making decisions, these are people are not PhD graduate in your industry, in your field, and they really don't understand what's the impact of industry. And sometimes even you have some findings. It takes years really for the industry and market to realize that. Yes, so that's a time lap between science and practice. So it is very hard for you to really just going out, tell them, I have this, that, and publish this and that. If your PhD thesis hasn't been published and you claim you're really top on your research area, and then we find out no, because we know someone else has actually done better than you in the exact same industry. The focus is wrong, so that's the reason you can reject it, because you never focus anything before and after. After means once you've got certificate, graduation, and thesis submitted. Well, people explain to me a lot, oh, it's not like that. We have to submit to the examiner, and then they come back and feedback, but my work's outstanding. Well, I don't know, right? Because now look at myself, it's no longer an immigration expert. I think if I'm a decision maker, I am not your expert, topic expert. I'm not going to read your thesis, and I don't understand anything you're talking about in there. So how on earth I make judgment? I don't make judgment by reading through how significant you are in that paper. I make judgment what appears before me. right? So overall, we have 3 reasons today. I outlined why your PhD graduate can be denied for GTI program. One is timing. You've got wrong, you submit in wrong timing, and wrong timing is not your fault. Sometimes it's a policy, okay? And you just need to understand whether you submit in wrong time and what's going on with that. Another one is because of no policy, emphasize a lot of ability to earn high income in the future. Then some people just forget about that, leave there for a very long time, and their EOI, it doesn't matter how long they wait for the EOI, they could be rejected if they don't meet the requirement. It doesn't matter. So waiting doesn't make your chance become better. It actually makes your chance become less. Why? You have not been picked up by the system, means something wrong with your EOI. So you're gonna really emphasize, think about whether you can meet these requirements now, and what else you can do in order to meet the requirement if you haven't got your feedback yet. Another factor is about focus. People focus too much about their academic background. They focus less about their achievement before and after PhD, and what implication in their real life. Especially sometimes they have 3 topics they explore in the past. Some of the topics really become common sense, and I have to be really, from my point of view, some of the research topic, it's not that exciting. So you should focus something that's really exciting. I hope this one helped you. If you consider resubmit your EOI, you want to make sure everything behind this wall at Sagebook can help you to really reevaluate the possibility you get invited this time. Okay, thank you very much. If you want a free assessment for myself, please feel free to contact us. You can leave a message on Facebook, or you can leave a message here, or alternatively, you can actually send an email to us directly. I hope this found you. I see you next time.